So far, Audi was not really interested in the playground of the Mercedes GLS or the BMW X7. This ends today because the Audi Q9 is their new large flagship SUV. The Q7, yes, has always been a little bit bigger than the X5 and the GLE, but it was never a true competitor in the largest full-size SUV segment against the X7, GLS, or also some of the American competitors, for example, in their full-size SUV segment. And Audi now says we really want to attack this segment, especially the North American market, with the largest Audi SUV ever. And we're going to take you on a tour. What we can tell you about exterior already, you can see here, this is like a special psychedelic we are on drugs paint. And on the interior, because the interior is the full reveal here today. So all you need to know about the interior as well. And the Q9 now with Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Yeah, this is a so-called camouflage paint because they don't want to reveal everything from the exterior yet. This is a so-called salami tactic in the PR branch. So they, want to have several coverages and so on. And yeah, on the one hand, I don't like it so much. I want to show you everything at once. On the other hand, you need to be on these appointments as well to show you most things as early as possible. And for example, there is the interior reveal today already, so we kind of have to do it as well. It's for me always a little bit back and forth as well. But of course, we'll make it as interesting for you as we could possibly do. For example, we can always see the front grille, which is illuminated here in this honeycomb structure, and super large Audi rings, not three-dimensional, two-dimensional, but illuminated, at least allowed on the North American market to do that then here with the Audi rings. And this also suggests a sporty model, at least from the front grille. And they will play a lot with light technology. You can always see it here, and in the side profile we can expect a car that is of course longer than the Audi Q7, and this actually also looks even longer than the X7 or the GLS. So really in the full-size segment together with the actually huge wheelbase. Look at that. Wow. And how long was that? And then 23-inch wheels, large styling, and here these Audi rings that always stay upright, that they look best also when the car is stationary. Also upright design here, huge roof rails. In the rear we see that they play with light technology, with their OLED technology. You can see these thin layers there, illuminated Audi rings. This will also be allowed in Europe. And does Leah, do you have the light? Because, I mean, we're not allowed to tell you anything about the engines yet, but 4 exhaust pipes, if I know the engine lineup from the Sofa Q7 and so on, that really looks like an 8-cylinder, doesn't it? And then let's check out the doors, because they are now electric or automatic, and you can program this feature that when you hold and open here on the key fob, that all doors open at once. Typical thing when you leave your house in the morning, that you say, I want to open all 4 doors. Yeah, I mean, there will be some use cases for that. I am also someone who always likes to play with these key fobs. This is like the manual release here, and it's somehow so tempting, for your OCD, that you always have like to press this in and back again. Yeah, but maybe it's my problem. I don't know. Interesting. What model might that be? And then let's see here inside of the doors. You can also close these electric doors here again, or here with the button. Then here everything is properly wrapped. Open carbon fiber right here, and fabric, Bang & Olufsen sound system, so the speakers are behind it. Ambient lighting. You can get different decor elements. For example, also an open wood or aluminum or so. This is like cut out for the ambient lighting. And we go back to these classic window lever controls together also with the side window control here in the classic style. No black panel design like in the A6, Q6, A5 and so on. Then here I would like some fabric on the inside of the doors, but there's just hard black plastic. Then S entry badge, so it could be an S-line or a true S model. I leave that up to you. And then here, once again, the S badge, and You have perforation at the side of the steering wheel, and we go back to some jog wheels here, and also right side for the volume. Illumination, so yeah, you have some clicking feedback, but that's about it. It's one button design, so it's a mix of hard buttons and capacitive PS. And here you have from the Audi Q3 basically this new design with an integrated column. This is the turning indicator. Yeah, it looks clean. This is also where the wipers are integrated. I have tested it in the Audi Q3 already. There's a driving part out from that vehicle as well. And when you are in the car stationary, everything makes sense. It's at the same position and it's not hard to control. But while driving, while turning the steering wheel, and then you want to reach out for the indicators, it is a harder thing to do. And I had situations where I did miss the indicators because they are not long enough. So a turning indicator needs to be longer behind the steering wheel. This is not form photos function. And another example of that is also here. I think it's this is inspired by Tesla. Here they only have automatic vent control, no manual control for that. And you have to do it from the infotainment system. I think that's harder to do. What do you think? So, but then again, I'm happy that we have the classic lever control, for example, for the windows and for the side mirror. So it's a little bit back and forth what we see here indeed. Then this seat here is the sport seat with the integrated head restraint. You can move these head restraints a little bit up and down, but that's about it, you know. Also illumination in there. There are also speakers in there, optionally at least, because there's the B&O sound system. And on top of that, you can get vibration in the seat for 4D sound experience and also speakers in the headrest that, for example, there's a GPS just in there, or maybe if you just listen to the music, but I would actually get the B&O sound system and that's it, because I'm not sure if I would need that, you know, my booty is vibrating while listening to music, but that's totally up to you. And steering wheel up and down here, in and out, electric control, and headroom with 1A9, 6 for 2, yeah, plenty of headroom left. With these automatic doors, I can also close it with pressing the brake or with clicking in the seat belt. We've seen it with the Porsche Cayenne Coupe recently as well. Now to bring you some more light in, first of all, this new panoramic roof is with illumination, with this ambient lighting, looks pretty spectacular. It's so large, spans over the whole vehicle, and the cool thing is you can still open it. But one more thing earlier, here, this is like this digital shade. There is no real shade because Audi says the heat and UV filter is already in there, and you can also play games with it. For example, just have every second panel transparent or not. Doesn't make so much sense, honestly. More sense is definitely that you can really open it and leave some air in here and also some light. This is actually pretty good, and this is so wide it almost gives us like an SUV convertible feeling here. So that's really spectacular. The seating comfort here is, by the way, good because you sit upright. We know it already from the older models on this very platform here further developed. So there's a good seating comfort. The only thing they do not offer is a real alternative to animal skin materials. And with a car that is launching in 2026, you need to offer that. Audi is the only manufacturer which is not offering any good alternatives in the segment. You can get Dynamica microfiber on the inside of the seats, but that's about it. The rest, there will always be a lot of parts animal skin, although it's from a technology standpoint not necessary anymore. There is new tech, and on billionaire yachts, for example, like the most expensive boats, is all high-grade leatherette because it's the highest technology material. It's also the most durable, if you pick the proper quality. BMW is doing that, Audi is not. And then here, glove box. This one is falling down in a smooth way. Then again, more use of this open cell carbon fiber, let's call it that way. And this also good development. So we complained about too much high gloss black, and you still have some high gloss black here. Or you also have these large bezels around the screens. This is also highly criticized in the latest models here. These are just too large, and then the instruments look so small, and you can sometimes not see them properly through the steering wheel, and then you have more high gloss back here. But at least they said, hey, let's reduce the high gloss back in the middle console and put all the way of the decoy element right here. That's beautifully done. And I've also seen a version with matte open cell wood, for example, that looks amazing, I can tell you. Or aluminum will be possible. Also here, the attention to detail here at the side, this is padded underneath. Also some ambient lighting integration right there. And then also when you push here, like the fabric, and then it's also underneath some soft foam, and once again, subtle ambient lighting integration. So there are a lot of nice details with this car nonetheless. The passenger screen is standard. This is then from the background in this, it looks like, these gray tones from a 90s early computer or something, and this continues throughout the screen. And Audi then says, hey, if you want more elaborated backgrounds, pay for that like 10, 20, 30 euros in their online shop. And I think that's not a good way to approach customers. This car will be 100 to 150,000 euros or something. But it's not about that the customers can't afford it. It's about that the customers feel valued. And I think the most important thing for Audi now is getting better in the reliability standings, customer service, and the customer feels valued. These are the three most important things, and they go, of course, in hand. And then you can say, oh, let's do some digital vent control in the infotainment system. That's not important. Who has asked for that? No one. But everyone asked for good customer service, reliability, and so I would really like Audi to concentrate on the very important things, But as I said, there's, good things also coming up. We see that here, like the interior quality is raising again. That's cool. I also like the ambient lighting here, the bow here in the front. There's a large head-up display included here. Everything is wrapped also on the top part, and also how the ceiling is processed here. Everything is in microfiber. Also there's the sun visor here, for example, also padded underneath. I love that. And then when I put this one out, this is still a little bit hard. Maybe it's the prototype thing, but here you can also extend it. It's very important for long highway rides. For example, when I was last time driving from LA to Vegas, for example, by car, and it's just like put in cruise control, like, what is it there, 55 miles an hour or something like that, 60 miles an hour, extremely boring to ride that. And then suddenly the sun comes from here and it's like, oh. And then it's really good to have this extension, for example. And this will be like a North American market focus, definitely, with this vehicle here. For European purposes, it's often too large. People would maybe rather stick with the Q7 then or something. But maybe you need it for the kids, and we'll also experience the second and the third row very soon. More interesting deals here in the front here, USB-C charging, it will be 60 watt in the front. And also here, these inductive charging pads, 2 actually, and they really charge properly with 25 watt. And here you have also then the MagSafe in there, that it's properly secured in the position, doesn't fly around. And it's also ventilated, so it doesn't overheat that quickly, because there's the ring around that's ventilated. Still manual, this volume jog here, for example, that's cool. And also how the cup holders are either hidden or open, and then they have the 4-dot design that also bottles don't fly around. Audi even says that it, again for the US or Canadian market as well, that it does fit 2 Stanley Cups when you put them, or like the Liasti, I think, Ovala, like the competitor of that one, so it does fit, or they are also like cheaper remakes and so on, but they're supposed to be fitted in there as well. You can also hear the ventilation a little bit here, by the way, when the phone is plugged in this magnet saver. Soft here for your elbow. Fold this one up. Then you have a lot of space underneath. It's no problem, but there's 12-volt charging supply, for example. But that's about it. And now even more interesting is, of course, what can I do here with the second and the third row? I can open the doors from, I think we are not supposed to show that in the infotainment system, because it shows here how the car looks like. It's just a top view, but I can press the button in the infotainment system, and then I can open the door for Leah. So it's also a nice gentleman's function, so to speak. So there we go. And wow, this is such a huge door. Look at that. I mean, it's extremely long. And also, it's a nice quality from the inside here. There's a huge shade as well, digital one. Good and simple luxury feature. I like that. And also here with the open carbon fiber again, you can see the ambient lighting integration. The only thing I wish once again is here that they have some fabric covering from the inside. You close the door from here, by the way, but you can also, for example, when you sit in the third seating row, you can press this button here in the top. There we go. I could also do it like here from here because I think that's cool. Or if you're in the third seating row and reach over, then you can also reach this button there in the top. That's possible. It's a very pleasant experience here in the second seating row. Why is that? This is here the captain's seat setup. So Captain Thomas is here on duty for you today. Everything in your service as always. And then you can put down these armrests. And this is actually a more comfortable seating position because it's upright and like, you know, on a good chair at home, if you compare it to a luxury sedan. And that's why also this luxury SUV segment has become so much larger in comparison to luxury sedan segment. And you can see it also from the design that this is basically a front seat in the second seating row. This is actually pretty cool. I still have enough legroom left. USB-C charger in the seat. And also here in the lower part, these lower parts will be 100 watt. This is very important when I want to charge my MacBook in here and maybe I want to work while being driven, for example. Leah sometimes plays then the chauffeur. Do we say chauffeuress then? I'm not sure. I need to dig into our French friends maybe then. Tell that to us. And here you also have a climate unit in the rear, seat heating in the front. The seats can also be ventilated, by the way, and cup holders are illuminated. And once again, the nice 4-dot design. Now the kids could here be on the child seats, Isofix, or if they're a little bit older, they can also go through here. That's also a lot of fun. There could also be a 7-seater. Oh, well, that's the standard. The standard is a 7-seater. This is the option. So it's that way around. And it's pro and con. This one brings more comfort for the second seating row, yes. But when you want to have more luggage space, this one goes a little bit like this. And that's about it. If you have the 7-seater, then this one here goes all the way full flat. So it depends on what is your primary use case for this vehicle. But first of all, the third seating row. So I move forward now as I could still sit here in the second row. Let's see about that. So, and then I want to fold the seat forward, and what works is here pressing this button here. And then the seat goes forward. You could theoretically also leave a small child seat on the seat and then it goes forward. And then you can enter right there, or you can move through the middle part. This also works. And let's see, do I still have space here? There we go. Plop, plop. And this could theoretically work for 6 or 7 tall adults when you have the bench then in the second row. So yeah, headroom is no problem. It's a lot of headroom. I even have an own climate unit here in the rear, and also USB-C chargers in the rear, seat heating in the rear. So they thought of all the luxury features, cup holders and so on. So that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, and very well usable if you just have a larger family or a lot of friends, or this typical soccer practice or thing, you know, that you drive a lot of kids at the same time. Isofix also here on the rear seats as well. And if you have the 7-seater, you will have 1, 2, 3 Isofix in this row and 1, 2 Isofix in the third row as well. And I'm not sure if it's about the EU or US spec, because I think at least in the EU spec you also have Isofix on the front seat. I'm not sure if that's allowed in the US spec. So I squeeze myself out then here, because there's still the trunk or the boot. So this one back, no, this button, yeah. Open the doors for more light. Leah all the way opens the hatch, goes really widely down as well. And yeah, you can see you have even some boot space when the third row is up. And then we have some interesting buttons. But first over here underneath, there you can actually store this top cover. And it's a very interesting position, because here you kind of have to disassemble the vehicle like this and then it fits in there. It's interesting, and a smaller piece on the other side, and then you can also store that here underneath while driving, so why not? And here I can press this luggage button, and then the third row goes down like this. And now the captain seats, well, maybe you just pull them forward like they were. You know, this is one solution. The solution that happens automatically now is the following. They go back, but they fold. I'm not sure why that would make more sense instead of you leave them a little bit more upright but pull them forward, right? Yeah, I don't understand that completely. But here is once again the thing, if you have the 7-seater, then they go all the way flat and you can, just sleep in the vehicle. So it's so long, and then you have one more button here to put everything up again, and it would be more spectacular in the 7-seater that, of course, the second row goes up again. Now you might ask yourself, Thomas, why aren't you measuring the trunk? This was another thing, like not showing the exterior here today, and I had to agree to that I will not measure the trunk. So I blame Audi for that. Thank you so much. That's how it is. You know, you have to play by the rules that everyone has like the same thing he or she can show. And I think it's so far okay that no creator or journalist and so on has like a big advantage that someone could show more than the others. I mean, it's always with these like first camouflage events. You agree to something and then someone else has done something anyways. You know, it's always like that. That's why I'm always a little bit critical about these kinds of events anyways. But at the same time, I always want to use it with very interesting cars, and this is a very interesting car and a new step for Audi, because we can always show you a lot about the vehicle. Also the proximity sensor here in the lights, you know, like, So it's always a lot to say, and I think this was a very interesting tour already. As I said, with the price, I would calculate $100,000 to $150,000 or euros, depending also on the version that you will pick. It's interesting how the wind turbulence will be affected right here with this large shield. This is supposed to like make it a little bit less loud while driving, and the top is being opened. So we see a lot of interesting things. We see things that maybe can be improved, but clearly they do have a competitor now to the BMW X7 and the Mercedes GLS. So it will be interesting how they keep up. To me, the biggest difference between the American classic competitors and the German ones in this segment is that the German ones usually drive better as for suspension, you know, more sophisticated suspension and also more driving dynamics. But then again, they're also most of the time higher in the prices. So it will be very interesting to see how the Audi Q9 works in this very segment. And if you have forgotten how the GLS and how the X7 performs, then it's time to check out these videos right now.